Aadé ya kandahit ya dekat Yohan. Ya we ḳududziteeyi at aya ashukat away ḳududziteeyi ḳududzitee ya ḳusteeyí ḥududzitee at ya ḥududzitee wush ya ḥududzitee yata aya qanakhawi qalladzini at ḥusteeyí ten ḥusteeyí iji ḥusteeyí ya ḥududzitee ḥusteeyí at ya ḥududzitee ya ḥududzitee ya ḥududzitee ya ḥududzitee ye awa ḥusteeyí ya ḥududzitee hechasaku Aadé tuchtatan dasawe aya at ya wane wan qanins awe qa Aadé yuqewatan at ya wane qa ḥusteeyí Aadé has ഖുദ്ദുdziteeyi ḥal ayakh uti a gate with the git aya ḥusteeyí gate with the git Achchawe achtuasagu Aadé tuchtatani yang ya ḥusteeyí ye awa ha'i udutli tu chaltakat at ayak qahe ഖududziteeyi achawe chaltakat at yawane ajikhtu ti qaji yes yejane qeqa Lingít awe shawat a kach yakh adel qeqa Lingít awe qisakhan qatilla an duteikh yena age qeqa Lingít awe chatlak awe ajikh ati at yawane achawe Aadé tuchtatan datyakhsawe aya Lingít ḳusteeyí Lingít ḳusteeyí awe dakhtasego at ayak qahe ഖududziteeyi ayikh akhu aqud aya yehas ഖുdudziteeyi Qush achchawe ukhke qoti has ഖusteeyí ye awe ach yuqatangi qud ukhke qoti ഖusteeyí qach dakashuq edach yuq hawutien wush kanachutu da at ഖusteeyí da wush kanachtulnik Qushkiwi do a sakwe wush kanachutu da at itlay qach inach clan conference qach dakashuye qa yuqatangi qud ukhke qoti ഖusteeyí Khatqa tsuyena ach kahisi ten achtuasagu duqet qach shahidi qat qachat awacha John qaye awacha yuqatangi qud ukhke qoti ഖusteeyí atcha itil de kadyekh awe wukeqo Gadein awe ausuguk yuqatangi ya ach ishas awe ka guantan tlak an adach at yawane wush yawadane shawadane atina khayati aqal Lingít ḥusteeyí Qush aqud tlal Lingít uste ya yidat wan qanins we tlal ushke at yawahi tlal Aadé ayaw tulqain hechosaku wanakhsaya qanakhoy achtuasagu Aadé atulqaini Aadé yuqaqtulla ati wasa ha itch yana guti tlak ha itch yana ati wasa hastu idegachtudeshi ya ḥusteeyí da yuq a'tánk qach ഖു두dziteeyi ye awa yiduasago at ya tlekach inach la yiduasago at uhan ḥusteeyí achchawe achtuasago Aadé yuqachtatani chayegugeng aqawe verbs dat yejagachtune Let me write down three things, and I'll tell you what I was, or we'll review what I was talking about. I kind of like to do that. Ah, yeah, well, ach.
You say gach.
How do you say?
Goch.
Oh, goodness, cheese. Oh, okay. So I did say these things quite a bit. So you would say, oh, look at that. It's a funny font. Hold on. Let's not do secret agent font. It's not gonna.
What are you making memes today?
I don't know what. I didn't do that. I don't know where it came from. Okay. ʼat'ya'awudane. And then, hold on. And then, ya'awudane. And ya'awudane. So then you could have ya'awudanee'i. Ya'awudanee'i. And shya. I guess I'd say ya'awudanee'i. I don't know. Maybe this. I'd have to think about that. It feels like it needs to have something there. I guess I'd do that. Okay. So you folks can see that, and I guess what was I talking about? Kinds of things.
Coming together. And you said, it's the conference.
Yes, at the clan conference. And I said this. And who said this? I said a name. I said it wrong too.
It's not the crying at the end, right? Goch.
Oh, huh.
Was it Goch Dakashu?
It's a person.
It's a person.
It's from Klakwan. It's Kagwantan.
Say it one more time.
Ach,
So you're not wrong. Oh yeah, Goch Dakashu.
Gurtakashuga.
Johach.
Yeah, well, cheesh, Gurtakashu.
So it was Goch Dakashu.
Ah.
Okay.
And he said this.
I'm so sorry, guys. What the heck? It just started the pocket oingo boingo.
Oh, okay. Ah.
Didn't hear that. Thanks, man.
What does this say? And can we recognize parts?
ʼqusteeyí.
Yuchatangi qut. ʼqusteeyí.
Could it be just something to the effect of that our language is very much is like hand in hand, like together with our culture is like a big part of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's get. So what do we know this part? Oops.
Yeah. Language.
Your language. Do you know this one?
Does it have to do with walking or moving or traveling? No? Different.
Without. So as you start to learn, these are things with Lingít. Like we just keep discovering stuff. Like you could say with, without. So if you know that with is een, then you might say, oh, ḳusteeyí. You could say ḳusteeyí, not with them. But you could also say duqut, without them. Right? And so you could say, oh, here's with your language. Without. And then let me check the chat. Yeah, away your language. And I'll put another one in here in just a second. We'll do this one next. Okay. And then ḳusteeyí. Any parts we recognize.
To be your life.
Well, your life is so this part here. So I guess we'll go, there's three things in here. Blank, blank, your life.
And T is the verb says yate, and ḳududzitee is the future version.
Yes, to be.
So to be.
Or I guess
And
will
K
be.
because-
Say will be, yeah.
And K because it's the future version, right?
That is a wonderful prediction, and it is absolutely right sometimes.
Sometimes.
But this K is one thing.
That's what it's gonna be.
And K,
Language. K will be your life.
yes, your life will be K. Do you think it's going to be a good thing?
Like,
Okay. K is out of control. Right? And also it's causing damage. It's, there's some stuff going on in our community that makes me think about the stuff. I think about this stuff all the time, but there's some extra stuff going on in our language community, in our indigenous community as well, that makes me think of this stuff a lot more, which is without your language, your life will spin out of control. That's what he told me the translation was. And then he took a big bite of pilot bread and fish. And I said, "Can you say it again?" And I recorded him, and it was like straight crackers. It was great. I didn't care. It sounded good on the tape, And so it's a phrase I come back to a lot. And as we sort of look at what are these things doing?
It's like one, a thing, us.
These are all third-person verbs, so they are.
they're respectful.
Yeah.
We're respectful together.
This is they respect something, right? And so now, if this is the something, how do you think you might say they respect me? Not chat, because that would be this is not an object pronoun. Okay, so if it's, well, I'll entertain some more guesses before I give you another hint.
People struggle.
Would it not be ādé?
Wouldn't be cha, because that would be a subject. You could say, if I want to say they respect them, I would say de, ya, ḥududzitee. So now your pronoun radar should be blinking, and you should say, oh, there's something going on. And this is where Lingít also causes some confusion at times, is you'll have something that is acting like in English that looks like an object, the one that the verb happens to, so you think object, pronoun, yes. But some of them, like the verb has to like travel towards a person, and so you're going to get some sort of directional thing, and the ya right here has to do with like intelligence or thoughts, or it has something to do with the mind. So then to say they respect me, ḥududzitee, right? So then we get down here. Wuxia, this should probably have like we'll throw a hus in there.
So is it us?
They respect each other.
They respect each other, right? There is, we're not going to do the subject yet. It would be right here, right after this wu part. So here that you would say they respect each other.
Where's the A and ḥududzitee?
Some verbs have an A just baked onto it. And for some of them, it doesn't mean anything. And this is one of them. It's just always there.
Okay.
And so it's called a-thematic. There's plenty of a-thematic verbs like Aadé, for the sun to shine. That is just always there. It won't go away.
Because they don't want to start with the W?
It's a part of the verb. I'm sure someone has analyzed why it's there. It's just there for some verbs. Sometimes it's there to hold a spot. Like you could say ʼusteeyí, which would be they are fishing. So you'd say ʼusteeyí with the letter A right at the beginning. But if you say what kind of fish, well then that would, okay, hold on. Let me change it to me. ʻqusteeyí, I am fishing. ʻqusteeyí. Let me write it so we've got, okay. So let me go down here after our life went out of control. ʻqusteeyí, I am fishing. It's gonna go, okay, I am fishing! My Facebook response. Okay. So, but if I say what, so now I'm gonna go fishing for what?
King salmon.
King salmon. Now this goes away and converts to a standard third person object. That's not the case all the time. That is the case with this verb, and there's a few others that probably do that. But some of them, it's just cooked into the verb, and for respect, it is. And I see it in the chat.
We're getting
Oops.
So is that like a contracted ut then? Maybe
No.
the ut that's contracted in.
Just a different, it's just called a-thematic. It's something that's on there. And for some verbs, it doesn't mean anything. It just has to be there. For others, there's some verbs where sometimes you want to kick the object out, right? What are you doing? I'm sewing this vest. What are you doing? I'm sewing. I'm beading, right? I'm beading this design, this moccasin top. So sometimes you don't want the object there, so you boot it out just to say, I'm reading. I'm just reading, as opposed to reading this book. And this is one of the ways you can do it.
I mean, you could change out for any fish.
Yeah, now that could be any fish, but that would stay ḵusteeyí. So I could say Nemo ḵusteeyí. Okay.
It's not about the ending, whether it's open or not.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's not about whether the ending is open.
Nope. Okay, and so now, yes, we had it in the chat. So ʻqududziteeyi, they respect themselves. And so there is a video we recorded this summer of Anyasha Hash, Sam Johnston talking about this. He's like, respect, and you could turn these into nouns as well, saying like, respecting yourself, respecting each other, respecting people, respecting all things, right? And this is where I said, ye awe ha I doodly two just a cut at a yak wa hey yaku ḳududziteeyi ach away just the cut at a jich to tea at ya awu. What is this one? I see your hand. We'll get to your hand right after this one.
I know the third to last line, but not the first. The ayakwa. Is that supposed to be yakwa hey yakwa?
A yak qua hey. Yes, I'm teach.
Ayakwa hey yakwa ḳududziteeyi achoe ajich tuti atyaone. There exists or there is a spirit in everything because everything we respect. I'm not sure about the jich to T part, but I think I got the gist of it. I don't know what the first line is though.
Okay. What about, so ye awe ḥududzitee.
Two is when you're studying.
Yes, so two is, there's plenty of, so if you said two, which is a straight zero classifier, awa two, they're reading it, they're counting it. With an S classifier, they're counting to a certain number. Āadé, gachtus two, we're going to count to 20. If you change it to, we say shtichash two a lot, right? To say I'm studying, shtichash two, I'm studying, which means I'm teaching it inside of myself. But then if you say, for example, here's a ha-iu dudley two. So when you have just a straight L classifier, that means to teach. Ākhetli, do I kakwashlatu, do I de kakwashlatu, guchsa akkwatlit. Okay.
That's how we teach it within ourselves.
If you got it, okay, so I could say Ākhetli, do I de
Use all the time.
kakwashlatu,
What's the word, Kadley?
guchsa akkwatlit. There's another A-themed verb. Ākhetli, do I kakwashlatu, guchsa akkwatlit. It's very important if you have a puppy. It's a very important step of the whole process.
Where to pee, maybe?
Not quite. It's something more solid.
It's interesting, because I know hot.
Okay, now we gotta get into this
Where
hot. Okay, I'm going to, and we'll circle back. I'm going to teach my dog where to shit. Okay, and akkwatlit, and I'm gonna write it this way and say it this way. Don't get offended.
the long vowels and the short one.
What's that? It's a long vowel because it's a future verb.
It's where he's.
That's okay.
Yes.
So I was
Futures are
okay,
long and
so-
high. Futures are long and high. Futures are long and high.
'cause-
Negative futures are long and low.
Because when it was just a noun, it was speak.
Tlitl, yeah. So tlitl is the, okay.
That's just like you're teaching him where to go, right?
Yeah, I will teach my dog where to shit.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be outside.
Yeah.
Not on the floor.
So can you break it down for me for the aquathlete? Because into my mind, I can't figure out how it becomes from hot.
Okay,
It's not-
first. Okay, we gotta say there's
It's a different
gande nagudi, then there's hot,
Okay.
and then there's tlitl.
Shit.
So these are three different ways to talk about this stuff, right? We're gonna really get into it, okay? So gande nagudi, I would say, yes, is,
We've had so many poop episodes.
this is poop. And hot, I would say, is maybe crap.
That's what I'm used to.
Technically a mess. That's all it means is a
Right,
mess.
Really?
Shit is shit. That is the literal part, right? So for example, okay, we saw a dance group. I'm taking a very long way to come back to this other point, and then
Back to respect.
I think I had maybe 3 hours of sleep. So this is just what you get. Okay,
I'm
we were-
with you.
we were
So
in
that's-
Teslin.
I'm here for it.
there was a group from Alert Bay. They're Kwakwakawak, and they came up to dance, and it was a very big deal because one of their ancestors was from Kwakwa. And she was a Chilkat weaver, and she went down there, and they have
Oh.
nachein, but she never taught anybody how to weave. When people come to watch, and she would just put it all away. She wove a bunch of stuff. They have these blankets and things. So they came up there, and then someone was dancing with a raven mask, and like I could see, like they wanted us to focus on their head. They're doing lots of head movements, but their arm reached into a bag, real sneaky. It's like they're doing something with their hand, and then put it behind themselves, squatted down, and let go of some down feathers, and it looked like it came out of their butthole. And so I was very excited to tell it. And there's this one speaker that I used to really love to talk with. Her name is ḳusteeyí. She's kind of lost most of her facilities, and so, but she was so fun. Because then I said, then I thought about what I wanted to say. and I said, wait, oops, wait, yesh, ʼatánk. No, I said, this is what I said. Weyesh ʼatánk ḳuatzʼ ʼawatl. What do we got now?
The raven.
The raven. ʼatánk. What's ʼatánk?
Dance.
Dance. So you put the I at the end. Dancer.
Dancer.
What's ḳuatzʼ?
That means just shat. Feather down.
Downy feathers. Downy feathers. They shit. Okay. So, and then she laughed and she's turned to the person next to him. He said they shit down feathers. And so he said the raven dancer shit. And she was really excited to translate. That's exactly how she translated it. He said the raven dancer shit downy feathers. And so, coming back, so now you can see this is ʼawatl, ʻakwatl. Futures are long and high. When we're going to start getting into future perfective. What do you need to know to communicate? You need to know right now, in the future, in the past. But Lingít takes care of those things differently, right? So you're still doing those time things, but you're going to use what we usually call an imperfective. It means it's in the process of happening. A future and a perfective. And the perfective just means, did it happen or not? The imperfective means, is it happening or not? And the future means, will it happen or not? So then you could have positive and negative for each of those. If you could do those 6, you can talk. As long as you just keep adding more verbs. I mean, you got to keep adding more verbs. But those are the 6 that you need. And then there's a lot more to it. Do it, don't do it. You could start getting complicated. And then there's a whole bunch of more verb modes like hortative. But don't worry about that stuff right now. Yeah. Just focus on these ones. Don't try to drift too far as habituals, and they're fun, and then, but then you start to learn things like this is a 0 conjugation verb, and we know that. Like if you look in the perfective and it's closed and it's short and high, that's got to be a 0, right? And so we're going to start learning some of these rules. And so the only thing with Lingít is that you've got like these 4 or 5 different rules all moving at the same time. The big one is like what goes on in the conjugation spot. You've got to turn on these certain prefixes. Like, so if you say, well, how do you break this one down? Well, first of all, it is the literal word for, a lot of people will say "kandi nagudi" when they're talking in public, but they'll say it when they're friends. It's just them and their friends, right? And other languages do these same things. So here, if you want to talk about what's inside these things, if you had this, and this, when you break it down, you have ga, qa, 0. That's the subject. And then you've got 0. That's the classifier. And then you've got ʼtí, which is, well, I guess that's the shit, right? Okay. So then if you go to the perfective, you have a perfective marker, 0, plus I form of the classifier, because the classifier goes plus I to say, yeah, it happened. It became that way. There's the main reason why the classifier goes plus I. Every perfective positive will be plus I. If it happened, it will be plus I. Okay? And then you're going to have it. So what we see in terms of what's happening, that is changing to that. Ga, qa is future every single time. This perfective marker, if you have this and a plus I, that's a positive perfective. That means it happened, or it became that way. Wait, let's come back to, let's go to Janine, and then we'll come back to you. I know you had your hand up for a long time. You must be tired.
Goodness, geez. Back to a quick question on Aadé. You were using the possessive pronoun, correct?
Yes, and there
Yeah.
are some that do that, right? And like αχtuwasagu, dutuwasagu, hatuwasagu. So as we learn pronouns, we say, okay, this is the subject, this is the object, but then we have some that use a possessive. They're more rare. So
It-
what you do is you learn how to spot them and say, okay, that's the one.
It's blowing a hole in my English brain because so are you saying also the possessive in Lingít does not necessarily need a noun? It modifies?
Yes, because it's also used for directionals. So
Okay.
that's another big difference. You'd say like to me, which in Tlingit would be ʼaadé, right? So then you'd say my towards.
Ah,
Or just
that's
say on me, right? Me, that's like an object type of pronoun in English. We'd say αχka, my on. So you have to remember that. It's a
that's
possessive pronoun. Yes, but that's why I think relational works better. It's too late to change.
oh, in terms of what you would call it.
Yeah, I would probably call it a relational pronoun.
Okay. Okay. That's really cool.
Yep. And so the pieces come together, but there's so many pieces that sometimes it's like a gigantic puzzle. And like sometimes you're like, I'll never get this puzzle done. And then all of a sudden you look and like there's a huge chunk of the puzzle that's done, right? But it's interesting because you're putting the puzzle together and you kind of can't see it at the same time. I don't know. I lost my metaphor. Metaphor ḳusteeyí.
Goodness, geez.
Christian.
With our, so we've got the classifier, which is the ya, and then
Is that the,
that's the, it shows that it's perfective, the y, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm only seeing just the one W. So how are both of those expressed in our?
Yeah, it's because of this. If this wasn't on here, you'd have wuchil. So it just goes straight to the w. But what happens if you have a plus y, right?
It just lengthens that ah.
Right. And so, or like, oh yeah, I don't want to go there yet. Okay. So before I pull all the strands apart, so I just taught my dog where to poop. So ye away, ha ew doodly too. What's ye away?
right on?
Sometimes, but I'd say that's how it is.
That's what it
Especially when we start combining it to a verb.
would be.
That would be my. If the Mandalorian spoke Lingít, that's what he'd say.
Oh, man.
Ye away.
I love that you said that. The romance has grown stronger.
Really, it would be a way
This is
for
the way.
that is the way.
Well, that is the way, right? That is the way. Ye away. That would literally be that is the way. Because we can do it in fewer syllables. Okay. Ha iu doodly tu. That is the way. Ha iu doodly tu. So now, here's another one. What's ha? Our, right? Ha i, to us. Right? To us. So you say ach i, to me. Ha i. And then if I said ach ketli do I deka kwasha tu, I'm going to teach my dog. Or if I say I taught my dog, right? We go back to that one. I'd say ach ketli do eat kwasha tu. I taught my dog.
Does the do eat always have to be there?
Yes. For this verb. So for some verbs, they need to have this, like you say, inkakwadnik. I'm going to tell it to you. Ach in akawadnik. They told it to me. So Tlingit does have some extra stuff sometimes. This type of pronoun, it's an indirect object, right? It's still an object, but it has got to push it outside of the verb. Why? Because you're telling it to me. right? So if there's an it, that is the object. So this is why. So now you've got three things. You've got subject who's doing it, object with what it's, or who or what it's happening to, and then you have an indirect object, was sometimes like, for Lingít, I would say think of most of the time that's saying it's getting delivered to them. It's going to go towards them. So what is ha, ye'awe, ha iu dutle tu?
This is the way we are taught.
Yes. Or you might say that is the way you. So this is the fourth person. Ha iu dutle tu. And the fourth person usually, that's how you move things into big concepts, right? The way that people do things, the way that people taught us, right? This is how things become capital letter concepts sometimes. Like when we start talking about ḵusteeyí, when we start talking about that, we'll start using things like this. It wasn't just one person, this is how the people were teaching us. So there's everything. What's a G?
Dream.
June. Dasa e jiwu.
To have,
Yes.
to possess something.
Possession. So it's possession, right? So now you have a G to T. So again, just sort of starting to, continuing to think about these parts, to recognize these parts, right? So if we say a G to T, right? There's a subject pronoun in this verb. We. And in this case, we say, we carry. Its possession at, oops. And this is repeatedly. So this is saying we regularly give it to that, whatever it is, right? So, and this could change, right? So I could say, ijich to ti dana. I regularly give you money. So then I could say, oh wait, we give you money. I could just say khati, right? And I could say ach jich et dana. You regularly give me money, right? So the money is the thing. There is an object there. There's an object there, and that's the thing that is being given. But it's given to someone, so that's why you have this ajir. Usually you'd say ajit, like you'd say achjite dana, give me money, right? Achjite, gonna chish achjiti wegao. Thanks for giving me the time. So this same one, it gets this jir when you talk about happening on a regular basis. When you move things on a regular basis, it gets complicated in Lingít. Okay, but this is a big concept that I want us to know. So, so look at this whole thing. What does it say?
The way we were taught, there is a spirit in everything.
That is why.
Regis.
That's why everything is given to them.
That's why we give
Everything.
respect
Okay.
to everything. Right, and so the other thing too is like Lingít will continue to challenge your English word order, right? Because your English will be like, no, he said this thing, then this thing, then this thing. And Lingít's like, that's not how it goes. Bah, 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 bah.
Just to be sure, because I'm writing down notes. Ach, jich, et, dana. You always give me money.
You regularly, not always, There is an always, and it's going to end with a CH. That verb will end with a CH. So now that gets us to ḳududziteeyi, ḳududziteeyi, ḥududziteeyi, ḥududziteeyi. I'll change this to that. ḥududziteeyi, ḥududziteeyi. This comes back to a question I was asked an hour ago.
You give,
These are converted into nouns, which is it's a complicated process I don't always understand, but this is one way that it can happen. Anybody know what ḳududziteeyi is? Self-respecting person. So what would ḳududziteeyi be?
Self-respecting people.
People, so it's pluralizing. So once it's turned into a noun, you can put a noun suffix on it, including the plural marker. So ḥududziteeyi. I guess you'd say ḥududziteeyi. But I think it's got to stay high.
is it negative?
It is.
They do not respect themselves.
Well, I would say
Unrespecting
person who doesn't respect anything. And then, or I guess you'd say who doesn't respect things.
things.
Because you asked what, well, someone asked,
Yes, I
what's
did.
the opposite?
Yeah, you did. I was
And the other thing that I would say, and then I went to think about some of this stuff too, because some people just got no class. And so I had these ideas. Okay, ḳusteeyí, let's get to your question before I move on to the 15th thing of the evening.
Okay. I'm just curious, how would you say like a self-respecting being? Like if you're wanting to talk about an animal that was self-respecting, would that follow the same, or would you have to, what would you have to change?
I would say ḳududziteeyi at.
Oh, okay.
Because so ċududziteeyi just means, I would say it literally is like self-respecter.
Oh, okay.
Like people isn't built in there.
Oh, yeah.
So usually you would have a verb and you would throw it like yak-ēyi ḳu'u, the good people. ḥutzini ḳu'u, the strong people. So you kind of just throw an I on there. It's the exact same as the relational suffix, but it's always low. It works really well for state verbs. But you can also say kashhidiqa, a writer, someone who writes. And so in this case, but this is actually a special ceremonial kinship term. When you say ċududziteeyi, you're saying noble people, you respect yourself. That's an important thing in Lingít. And in order to respect yourself in Lingít, you have to respect people, you have to respect each other, and you have to respect everything. And what I was saying is, for me, it comes down to these things. Lingít. Yes. Ejene. Lingít. Shawat Hasdukach. Yach Aadé. Lingít. At ya awune ajich ati Lingít. What's my fourth one? Oh, ḳusachan qatilla'an duteich tu two ye on the H. Wash at ya awune good ḳududziteeyi pesh Lingít ḳusteeyí. This is part of my,
Yeah, wait.
I don't want to get into the details, but I was denied the opportunity to give a, what would you call it? ʻāṭánk, a speech where you burn somebody to the ground. And I was denied that opportunity, but this was part of it. So, what is that talking about? So, like, all of these are saying a true human being. A true human being.
A true human being for the work. A true human being protects.
Wait, ḳududzitee.
Ḳududzitee.
ḳududzitee. So now we got a fourth person in there. Right? What if I say ʻijiyis?
For you.
It's for you.
So
ḳududzitee.
for the people.
A true human being works for the people.
A true human being protects women.
Yes.
A true human being
We just did this one with two T, now it switches to a T. Ashtakat at yawune, ajich a T. And here we have the ʻāṭánk concept, right? Where you have ʻqeqa is one thing, ashtakat is another thing, at yawune is another thing, ajich a T is another thing. So when they teach grammar in Hawaiian, they say this is he'e, this is the octopus. Those are the tentacles, and they can move around, right? So you could say, you could move them around, but they have to stay grouped together.
has respect for everything.
A true human being gives respect to all things.
Gives respect for all things. A true human being has in their heart just love and kindness always.
ʻqududziteeyi.
So,
Well, we have gwash, there's a thing. At yawune, there's another thing. Ḳud, there's another thing. ḳududziteeyi.
maybe without respect, they're not true Lingít.
If they live without respect, they are not Lingít. And I was going to say, Lingít ḳusteeyí. Okay.
That's satisfying.
Oh, okay, let's see. Yeah, let me do these under these. They're all getting long. So, but the notes will all go up. So this is a true human being works for the people. A true human being, protects women.
You could still record yourself.
A true human being respects or gives respect to all things. And a true human being always has love and kindness in their heart. Maybe if they live without respect, they are not a human being. But like ʻqududziteeyi, right? Like it context matters. And coming back to objects and subjects, there are two versions of this ḳududziteeyi verb, and they are slightly different, right? So for example, I can say ḳududziteeyi, I can say ḳusteeyí. They are very similar, but they are also different. Grammatically, how are they different? ḳududziteeyi and ḳusteeyí.
Is the object and one is the subject?
Yes, one, and the top one has only an object. The bottom one has only a subject. How might we translate these? These are very similar things, but they're different.
I was born.
Well, ḳududziteeyi, there'd have to be a W in there. But we'll do born next.
Versus I live.
That's right. So the second one, that's conscious living. That's why I said this earlier too. That's how our culture is people live upon their words, right? They exist on them. And so these are important like cultural concepts as well. There's like lots of cultural content that's embedded in all of this stuff. So you could say like some of the differences here. I exist, I live, right? So if you're going to say we're going to exist, you could say that as a future, right? So you could say ye ha ḳusteeyí. We will exist, right? That's all it's going to say. It's like we'll be around. But if you wanted to say ye away, or I'll give you two examples. Ye away, and then you'll say ye ḳududziteeyi. That is how we will live our lives. And then you could say hashagun yach ye ḳududziteeyi. We will
Be like our ancestors.
yeah.
ḳududziteeyi. Could you use that like just for an example, like like, oh, how was Vegas? And you were like, I lived. Would you just say ḳududziteeyi? Because it's like
It's well, like so. You like I guess if you're saying you would say ḳusteeyí. ḳududzitee. Nobody knows how, but I survived. Or I guess maybe you'd say ḳududzitee. But it's like I recovered too. So. It depends how wild Vegas is for you. I just go to watch comedy. So.
That's what I do, and what do you call it?
George Wallace.
Hustle.
Buffets, man.
Okay, that was a lot.
We can all learn that.
Hune. In ḳududziteeyi, maybe my brain's getting sleepy or something, but how does that construction involve an object?
This is the object pronoun.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you say "Yechatvune," it happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And what does get we're gonna look at verbs where we just change the objects. They're mostly state verbs. I'm good, but Lingít uses objects for state verbs. Me good, you good, they good, them good, right? So in this case, you're saying me exists.
Okay, state
Me-
verbs,
Yes.
but not
This-
necessarily the others.
Yeah.
Okay. Prestige.
Okay. Okay, better take 5. Refresh your brains.
Huh.
Uitkoudigheid, Johan. Ja, je dat. We dag dachtasegu atsa. dot you ḳakwatan. Yeah, way you do a sound, yeah. Okay, there's, what is ashkushet? Yes, and what's ashqa? It's to gamble or to play cards or board games. So ashkushet is not playing cards or board games unless you're running around, throwing them around. Ashkushet is running around and playing. S'eek is playing quietly with like something that keeps you occupied. So I think kashuk s'eek would be a good name for video games. And then, yeah, then there's nahin, which is stick gambling. So that has its own sort of vocabulary and stuff.
Could you spell that one?
What's that?
Could you please spell that one?
Nah, high tone,
Yeah.
EIN?
Yeah, I think so. I want to bring it back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got a song ready for us. Remember that one?
I've got the
didn't want to
tauntingest
Me too.
stick gambling song. Okay,
I'm regretting this.
four sentences. Hold on.
Yeah,
We have to guess what animal is the speaker talking about. I'll do my best to write the sentences as they're being said. And if you want to put them in the chat, you can. Just copy and paste.
Can I get on your video and do it? Just because, like, sometimes, like, I mean, I know it's a little bit unfair, but it's a little bit actually.
I
I want to exit out a little bit.
Oh,
You know, just to help with understanding.
This is what it looks like.
Okay. Okay. Hast du ḳusteeyí ďadzichau? Hast du ḳusteeyí ďadzichau? So that's one. Ţleik. How do you say good guess? Kedain kia. Okay. Deich. Chas atkutu adi yadi uchaich. Atkutu adi yadi uchaich. Chas uchaich. Chas atkutu adi yadi uchaich. Okay. Nusk. Akwan ani. Oh dang! I think I did the wrong sentence. No, maybe. Yeah, no, it's right. Akwan ani ka. Tlesh kidain dutin. Akwan ani ka. Tlesh kidain dutin. Tlesh kidain dutin. Okay. Number 4 might make it a little more clear. Douche plane away.
Oh.
Barely know the word for this, but. So douche plane away. Anyone have a guess?
I'm lying.
Dictionary.
Adadushi?
Dísi.
It's a big one.
Like a house cat.
Hadadushi.
Oh,
Hadakuchi.
ḥududziteeyi. What's this?
Adadushi.
I don't know what that is.
Big cat.
Dushi.
Yeah.
Oh, I was getting confused because da means big in Chinese, and my wife's getting.
That's actually.
What is it? Gak, which means in English, like kaidak, lynx. Gak.
Yeah.
I got a lot of those coming in and out. A couple are just sitting around the side of the road sometimes.
Really?
By the houses. It's really strange.
Cool.
Yeah, there's spots in Anchorage, like you going up the mountains, flat top in the middle of the year, you can see like sitting in the trees.
This one? Ah, man-eating cat. It only eats the little ones in the forest. About a good guess. I was like our big cat in my head. I was like,
Oh wait,
it's big.
so it only eats small animals?
Yeah, I think.
Just ģēksegenki atu ati
Okay.
uchaich, or else it sounds like it only eats babies. It's like that's gani. It's like you're not a baby. You're gonna find me a baby.
Yeah, I only wanted it only eats small animals.
That's great though. That's great. I would have put long hair in the ears or something, because all of us thought mountain lion. I think, and that's just. But I should think of lynx because they.
Yeah, when you said it was
short hair?
Oh, I said it's big feet. I think I tried to say. It's
Yeah,
big feet.
big feet are hairy.
more.
Big feet are hairy.
Lynxes have like unusually big feet.
Yeah,
They
they
do.
But
That's because the round.
the last thing I said is it's a big cat.
Okay, yeah, which is what I thought Ḥududzitee.
Yeah.
And other big man-eating cat, but it only eats the little baby animals.
ģēksegenki atu ati uchaich.
Every time I hear him say that, I think of he's eating the ḳusteeyí. How those little baby noises they make out in the river. Yeah, they used to say, ʻatánk. If you hear the baby noises, don't go near the river because they'll pull you in.
Yeah, they cry like little babies, and they whistle. There's coastal Lingít made snowshoes. Inland Lingít made lots of different types of snowshoes. So they have these round ones that they used to make, and they called them ḳaqjini, lynx paws. Okay, okay, so we had a question earlier about how does this stuff work? How do whoops, that's the wrong one. So one, thinking about the Lingít verbs. There are, I think, about 23 different parts, potential parts of a Lingít verb. But not every verb is going to have all 23 of those things, right? You're not going to have, very rare you would ever have that many things. But just in terms of figuring out like how does the whole structure work, this is sort of the blown apart whole thing type of picture. And this is from Zeeusch, James Crippen. You can read his dissertation if you really want to get into the thick of it. But we take sort of a building block approach to these things. So the building block approach, which we'll go ahead and start taking a look at, even though in past classes this has been like an advanced Lingít thing, but we just do what we're ready for, and we just see. We just throw a bunch of stuff at the wall.
We're ready for.
Yeah, and we as me. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, as long as you're self-aware.
Right, so, but we're just going to look at it, right? There's no expectation of knowing, but it's just saying, what if we just remove the mystery and just said, these are the parts? And then you just, what you have to do is learn what are the components and then how do they interact with each other. That's the key. It's like, what are those things? How do they interact? When you start to master the basics, then you can start adding more and more things in there.
Man, I've gone down so many rabbit holes with this, man. It's just no easy way.
You fit into this class then.
Yeah.
We
Well,
follow
I-
Day all the time.
It's gonna be like that for our advanced class too, man.
Yeah, we're just farther along in it, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay. Like it takes time and repetition, and and we'll do some more exercises, right? So like we did a whole bunch of translation work, mostly all going from Lingít to English, right? And then we did a few of like sentences that you folks have written, and we're trying to decipher what you're telling us in terms of like describing animals, right? These are big steps that you all are taking, and you need to just realize like you are taking huge steps. You're stepping into a realm where you're like one of maybe 50 to 100 people in the world who can do this, right? And so like it's pretty amazing stuff to sort of start stepping up into this universe of being able to understand and to speak Lingít. And I do think part of it is sort of like trying to demystify what it is, right? And so these are the main parts of a Lingít verb: preverb, object, thematic, conjugation, subject, classifier, stem, suffix, postverb. These are the parts I think you have to understand in order to start using a Lingít verb. Just using it in a whole bunch of different ways to get yourself to a point where the stage of your learning is just gobbling up new verbs. I just need more verbs. Nom, 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 right? So then once you see that verb theme, you're like, I know how to use that verb now. I can use it. Okay, there it is. Okay, I can use it. Because it does code all the information that you need, at least most of it. There's still a few variables that we're still trying to figure out.
Something I noticed with doing this, like you were just saying, when I was in intermediate class, I was trying to do this where it's, trying to remember the words and how they change in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just said, how you just gobble up all the verbs. The hardest part that I've always had in regards to this is the fact that they are all so different. And I'm curious, is it possible that these verbs have their categories that always stay the same? The type of verb.
Well, it's like you have these like 4 or 5 things that will all
Right.
they will cue how the verb will be interacting.
Right.
Right? Like, does there have to be K in front of it or yay in front of it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's predictable. It's entirely predictable. And so, but there's certain components, and then what we do is we sort of figure out what do those components do, and then and once we see them, what do we now need to remember in order to use it? Okay.
I'll go down that going.
So the next phase is to say, and it's probably really small, so I'll put this whole slideshow up on our webpage tonight, and so you can look at it. There's a handbook that I'm writing. It's going to take me 10 years to finish, but I am doing it, and I'm up to this part, I think, the subject, and where I go through and just sort of try and list out. And this doesn't show every single one of these things. This is saying these are the ones you need. This is your starter pack, right? Your Pokemon starter pack, or whatever the thing is, right? So you could go and expand the Pokemon universe, but in order to really just get into the game, like this is what you need. Okay? No, not Pokemon?
You lost a metaphor there. Right?
The thing that also, the X and the H that you have next to some of them in the dictionary, I never understood what those were.
The little X means it never changes.
Okay, that's it.
It doesn't go long. It's just what it is. What it is.
Okay.
The little H means when you put a repetitive suffix on it, it stays low.
Okay.
The other ones go high.
That's pretty useful.
Okay. So what we're going to do now is go through these one section at a time and figure out what these things are. Okay. So just saying, like, these are not all of the things that could possibly be in there, but these are the most common things that I think you need to know to get started. So there's going to be the preverb, And we're going to look at all of these and figure out what they are. There's going to be the object. And so the preverb, I guess what I'll say about this is you're going to have adverbs. Like earlier, Aadé kiyaak. You tried well, right? You did a good job trying. Ǩedain you worked well on that thing. So ǩedain modifies that verb to say you did a good job, you did it well.
Just, I realize that, like, to say good would be like usually yak-a, and then to say bad is usually ke. So if you say ǩedain for well, or it was done good, how do you say it was done badly or poorly?
Ḳedain.
Just kesh-kudain?
Well, it depends. Okay, hold on. Okay.
maybe we're getting at it right.
Going back into the hot
We can
human.
go back.
Okay. So yak-a, right? What's the verb root for yak-a? So if you put dain on ke, you end up with ǩedain. That's where that comes from. Dain can go onto a certain set of verb roots to make them into adverbs.
So it can't go in all of them?
I don't think so, but I don't know. Like here, I'll just tell you the ones that I could think of, right? So what is this? Right, ḳududziteeyi, we're going to say it is good. That could also be they are good. We're just going to use it. What's ḳududziteeyi?
It's magnificent. Awesome.
It's amazing, magnificent, awesome. So you could say ḳududziteeyi, amazingly. I don't know if you know this one, but we'll try. ḳusteeyí. Everybody know that one? ḳusteeyí.
Oh, shoot, is it like shorts maybe? I don't think it's, I don't know.
ḳusteeyí.
I don't.
So when we came up with a name for organic foods, we said ḳusteeyí.
Pure?
So you could say ḳusteeyí, purely. You could say ḳusteeyí, which would be evilly. Oh, here's what is yeah. Well, okay, we'll get to that one. What's yanik?
Sick.
Or
Hurt.
Good one.
do not do things with ill will or speak with ill will to the people of the world who are like you. So and so these are preverbs, right? They can modify that verb, right? And so there's a whole list of these. Oh, Ishan, I guess we're gonna do that one. Poor, pitiful.
These are all preverbs?
Yeah. Ishan Dane, pitifully. Okay. These are preverbs, and they are also adjectives. All these Dane ones that we just did. So going back, we're going to look at some of these, and we're going to look at some of the most commonly used ones, including ones. Whenever we start looking at these components, we'll say some of these things have meaning. Some of these things have function. Doesn't matter what they mean. They just have a function. Some of them have both. Okay? And what is the object?
The person or who you're talking about, what's a reference to?
Yeah, the one the verb happens to. Right? What are thematic things? Did we talk about that in here? Call them thematic prefixes.
Shaw's like head.
Yeah, so these are essentially nouns you could put onto a verb. And then you see those little numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4? Why are those numbers there?
Means you can put only one from each of those categories.
Yes, you can have up to 4. The one the verb happens to.
4 at the same time.
You could theoretically have 4. 3 is extremely rare. I don't know if I've ever seen. Well, S'eek ḳududziteeyi. S'eek shaka. That's only got 3. That means to go like that. Kembe matumbo. S'eek ḳududziteeyi.
Right?
And you got a technical foul. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to look at what each of these ones mean. There's more than these, but these are the most common ones. You could also put tóqé on there. It's on the list. You could put a butthole onto a verb. It's happened before. These are the conjugation prefixes. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total. And again, these have little dotted lines. I guess I could have put numbers on here too. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 spots of conjugation prefixes. This is all of them. But they will pop up in certain combinations, and that's how you get to the verb modes. For the verb modes, like, that's, even though it's complicated, that's all it comes down to. If you use ya, you're doing perfective. If you do ga, ga, that's a future. So it's like you just put these certain combinations in, and some of them are a little variable. And what I mean by that is it'll call for the conjugation prefix. So whether it's going to be ga or 0 or qa or na will depend on the conjugation prefix of the verb. For example, stand up. Gidahan. There it is right there. Eat it. Kha. There it is right there. Sit down. Qanu. There it is right there. Go to sleep. Nata. There it is right there. And some of them, you might have na plus qa plus tu plus at. Nakhtu at. Let's go. Qatucha. Let's eat. So you will learn how to put these things together in combinations. And then you will learn what happens when these things start interacting with each other. They start shifting each other. That's where Lingít does get complicated, as they begin to shift each other. They'll jump over each other, they'll combine and become different things. If you remove the vowel, it'll become a different sound. What's the subject?
Person doing the thing.
The one that does the verb. This is all of them. There are no more than this. These are the only ones that exist. It's got to be me or I, we, you, y'all, them, someone. Those are your only options. It has to be one of those if there's a subject. Classifier. 4 groups. It will not change groups. If it changes groups, that's a different verb. It'll go plus I, most commonly to show that it did happen or it became that way. That's what the plus I means. Unique, not sick. Yanik, sick. Ḳududziteeyi is a human being. ḳududzitee, not a human being. Lost their status. ḳududziteeyi, strong. ḳududziteeyi, weak.
Some people deserve it.
ḳududzitee, cowardly. Right, so this sh and sh has to do with is, isn't. That's the most common use of that. The only ones that are usually plus I, positive perfectives, happened or became that way. They'll always be plus I. State verbs that are imperfectives is that way. If it's that way, it's got to be plus I. Yanik, ḳududziteeyi, ḳuddzan. The other ones will be what we call potentials, but don't worry about those. They're big, complicated verbs. Might do it, would have done it, can't do it. Those are all potentials. They get really big.
What's your nice little like tagline for a classifier? You had great ones for everything up to here.
Or like what do you mean? Oh, like
Preverb includes adverbs. Object, the one that verbs happen to. Thematic, nouns you can add on. Conjugation, only 4 modes. What's your nice little tagline classifier?
the classifier says what the verb does.
Finish it.
It either puts it into, it says, let's use categories. Or it says, let's say somebody made the thing happen. Or it says, let's just put a little bit more meaning into the verb. For example, right, a 0 classifier one, khatin. I am able to see it, or I see this thing. It's a non-specific thing, right? Going back to this, ǩududziteeyi, Kate khatin. What am I telling you? Kate khatin. I see a dog. I just see a dog. That's all I'm telling you. It's just, hey, I see a dog. That's the only information I'm giving you.
Hune.
Ah,
Would it be possible to make a slide like this, but with boxes on either side of the ones you have that show some of the things you described, like the positive and negative, and where the perfective, which one has the shows up in the perfective, and any other associated things with the verb modes?
yes, like this.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Thank you for telling me to change entire slideshows. I'll put this slideshow up as well. Like, there's no more mystery. There's no more, well, the only things I'll keep behind the curtain is if we're doing exercises where I'm making you guess what the thing's going to be. So here it is, Kate khatin. I see a dog, right? So maybe I'll change this one. Now what is this saying? ʼatánk ḥusteeyí.
I see your dog, or no?
Oops, I saw your dog. But this could also be, I see your dog right now. So this is an example of how Lingít does not change verbs for time. That doesn't mean we don't care about time. It just means it's not the driving factor. Your English brain will be like, what? Impossible. But it's just fine. So what the S classifier does in this case is say, it's a category. This is not just a dog. This is that specific dog. This is why I would always say, ḳusteeyí. You are a specific thing. I see you. S'eek ḳusteeyí. I will see you again. That's how this works. Non-specific thing, specific thing. That's one thing the classifier will do. The other thing the classifier will do is introduce what we call agency. Somebody's making it happen, right? What was that thing in like White Man Can't Jump? It's like you could hear it or you can listen to it, but you can't hear it. I can't remember, right?
We might be the only ones in here that know what that movie is.
You know I don't watch movies.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Okay. So now, like I see a dog. I saw that dog. Now your dog is the pooping dog, coming in my yard, pooping all the time. I got to scoop that stuff up. Tired of it. Big old dog named Dísi.
Did you say Dísi?
Dísi. Okay.
But why is the example for not going with Kate?
Oh, well, I'll get to that.
Why can't we have a blind dog?
So now the S classifier commonly introduces categories. Both the L and the S classifier can introduce agency. I don't just see it, I am watching it. Right? Or for example, ḥuaach, I hear it. ʼatánk, I'm listening to it. Those are different, right? Those are different. So for example, now your dog is in my yard. I'm gonna watch it. If it takes that pooping position, I can go out there with my hose. Right, so it goes away, right? But this could also be ḳallatin as a verb, this has two different meanings. Right? So it could mean I'm going to watch it. I'm going to see what it does. But it could also, what's the other meaning for this? It's a more common meaning, I would probably say.
Watching TV.
Well, yeah.
For watching?
Oh, like watch, like mind the kids.
Yes. You want to watch my kids? You want to take care of them? That's why there's a program, I think right over here in this science building called Hin Shatini, the water protectors. And so Shatini, Wasus Shatini, that should be the name for like a cow boy, cow person, cowpoke, I don't know. So this, now it's an active thing, right? So you have these for other verbs, right? Yak'e, it's good. Yishlik'e, you made it good. Yanik, sick. Chat yisanik, you gave me a cold. So both the S and the L will do that. The SH is its own special type of thing. The zero has the most verbs. S is probably second place, L is probably third place, SH, very few of them. It often has to do with some sort of negative concept. Not negative as in yes and no, but negative as in bad or unlikable. So in this case, I'm blind. I don't have sight or I have poor vision.
Why not having a dog that's blind?
You could say we the dog doesn't see me.
Ḳududziteeyi, breaking it down.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. I missed the
There's
I
and
missed
U.
that part. Okay.
The letter U. Okay. We gotta go back to this other one. So when we go to here, this letter U means there's some break with reality. There's a break with reality. It's either not that way or it's a future. All the futures will have this in there. All the negatives will have this in there. And all the comparatives will have this in there. It's called the irrealis. I think we're going to have to rename all these things someday. Yeah. It just means like there's some break with reality. That's why you say ye ku ge. Ka ge gets you ku ge. You have this. It's your thing. I gotta find this thing again. Hold on. Did you have a question?
So, with the classifier examples you just showed us, I noticed the stem changed.
Yes.
Could you explain how that happens or why that happens in those examples?
Okay. So stem variation is usually it's one of the last things I teach about a verb. But as we start to move through it, so when we talk about stem variation, there's two main things that we usually talk about. One is what is told to you in the theme. Does it have this little H? Is it marked high? If it has the little H, that means when you put a repetitive suffix on there, it usually goes high, but this one will stay low.
Repetitive, like nooch or something.
No, like the CH or the underline X. So like natage, right? And so long time ago, you would probably have a little bit of that H, so you go natage. You'd have that sound kind of in there. If it's marked high, it stays high. It doesn't go low. And then down here, it's showing you in lowercase letters, let's mark what the stem is. Open, long and low. Open, long and high. Open, short and high. Closed, long and low. Closed, long and high. Closed, short and high. Those are your 6 options. Those are the 6. That's what you get to choose from. What it's going to be is the verb mode, like future, perfective, plus the conjugation type, 0, na, ga, and qa. And then the stem variation, is it marked high or not? And that's going to tell you what the stem is predictable. Futures are long and high. Negative futures are long and low. Yeqwati. Kesh yeqwati. All the time. It's constant. But then you get into others, perfective. 0 open are long and high. Khwacha. All non-zeros are long and low. Khwata. Closed perfective, zeros are short and high. Awatlit.
Short and high. What is short and high?
0. A 0 conjugation verb. All the others are long and low. Aadé, ḥududzitee. That's probably enough for tonight.
Earlier?
Yeah. Unless there's any questions. But these are the parts of the Lingít verb. Right? We can learn all of these parts, and what we'll do is we'll start going through here and say, what are every one of these things? What are every one of these? What are every one of these? What do these generally do? What are these? How do these work? Then you have it.
It's a trip to me that even though you got the shesh or hesh or, you still gotta add that conjugation to say that it's in that negative. Crazy, amazing.
It's fun. It's fun. It's a very fun language. There's
Yeah.
so much stuff to it. Okay. Thursday, I'll have some fun exercises for us. They'll be so fun.
Atlein gynnes cheese.
Okay.
Gynnas cheese.
Cheese.
Required quan. Cadena top. Maybe too early.
Cheese.